Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Dan McDermott. It's time for Google Plus Week, our unofficial look at the world's coolest social network, Google Plus. Joining me is a live hangout on Google Plus, and in that hangout is Mr. Jesse Stay. I'd like to welcome Jesse. Jesse is author of Google Plus for Dummies, which is available, I guess, in bookstores and available online at Amazon.com and other places. Jesse, welcome. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Dan. Great to be with you.
All right. So I guess the first question I want to ask you is how did you end up writing this book? Because I know you've written, I guess you wrote Facebook applications, or correct me, Facebook applications for dummies?
I wrote Facebook application development for dummies. I also wrote two other books. I wrote one called I'm on Facebook Now What? And wrote another one that's now mostly inapplicable anymore, called FBML Essentials, about Facebook's markup language that they've now killed. But after I was done with Facebook application development for dummies, Google announced Google Plus. I started playing with the pre-release and got so excited that I decided I wanted to make my next book about it. So I approached Wiley, who makes the For Dummies book, and they were up for doing it, and now we've got Google Plus for Dummies.
Now, I'm just curious, these books, I guess your first one, I guess you hit them up and then they send you like a template because it's a specific format. I love it. My first one was DOS for Dummies. And I remember it said that it was trying to explain the line and the circle for on off, and it said it said just remember the O is like the O in off. So then it said, wait a minute, there's also an O in on. Never mind, just turn it one way, wait 5 minutes. If it's off, you've turned it off, and then turn it the other way and it's on. I mean, it's really funny the way they do it. And I got my mom. I've got my mom one or two of these series. She's 73. And you know they've got computers and stuff, but it's really great. It kind of assumes nothing, you know.
Yeah.
I was discussing this today. I'm just curious about doing Android app development, and I went to this site that they just announced this new tutorials and stuff, and they assume a lot of knowledge. But Google's the typical Dummies books doesn't. You know, it starts at the beginning. So I guess, is this just fun for you, or is this that going along this route instead of writing a regular book? Or I guess it's a big brand that is going to be an instant hit no matter what it is.
Well, for me, I do a million other things for money. I consult, and I help people out with social strategy and developing technologies that integrate with social APIs and designing social design and stuff like that. So I'm busy enough as is that kind of doing my own brand and my own book at the moment. This was the easy route, and it was good to kind of secure my expertise with both Facebook and Google Plus, and that's kind of why I went the For Dummies route. I actually have a few ideas outside the For Dummies realm that I might approach at some point, but this way, Wiley handles all the marketing, all distribution for me. I'm not looking at making money off of these things, but I might make a little money off of it, and at the same time, I get seen as a expert at what I do, and I can show it off in book format. So that's kind of why I did it, and why I went with the For Dummies. They do provide a template format that you go by, but most of the words and the layout are my own and my own proposal to them, and then I just follow their format. I had a great editor for this one, James Russell, who kind of helped guide it in the right direction. But beyond that, it was not much to it.
I guess the one big problem you might have is you're writing about a program. It's still in beta. So for folks who have bought the book, I guess this is going to be like a little franchise for you, right? You're going to be able to come out with multiple editions probably every 6 months or a year, I would guess, because it's dramatically
Well,
different from when you sent that last PDF file in, right?
well, that's a good question. The first this version is actually the portable edition. There is no full edition, so it's Google Plus for Dummies, but it's about a 140-page book. Really nice, easy read. The goal of this is kind of we'll keep it around for about 6 months or so, and it'll probably be relevant for about 6 months or so. And at that point, hopefully, we'll be ready for a bigger book, and we'll move on to that. But for the moment, this was intended to be a nice short read, easy read, get it going. I cover just the principles. I do go over kind of how to set up a profile, how to what circles are and stuff like that, and some of the very simple components of Google Plus. But I also stick to philosophies. I wanted to answer the questions like I hear a lot of people complaining when they get on Google Plus. I'm not getting any interaction with what I'm doing. I'm not getting anybody talking to me. No one's following me. And so in the book, I show ways to build interaction, ways to people talking to you, and ways to engage followers so that doesn't happen. So the goal is kind of to give everyone a comfortable experience getting into the social network and getting started with social network. It's something, if you got friends on Facebook, you want to show them about Google Plus, it's a great way to get them acclimated to start using the network.
That's one neat thing is it's so easy now with Kindles and Kindle. You can have it on your phone or your computer. You don't have to actually have a Kindle, and it's like
Yeah.
a $6 book or something, $5 or $6 for the Kindle version, $7 or $8. I get. You said it's not out on paperback because Amazon's selling it.
Yes, it's on paper. It's on paperback and digital version. You can get it on Amazon in either format. It's also on dummies.com. A bunch of other different sites too.
Okay. Let me ask you something. I ask a lot of guests. When Google Plus first came out, a lot of folks were like, "Oh, this is the Facebook killer. This is the one." And because every so often, Facebook gets a negative rap about something that they do that's dumb, involving privacy issues usually. And so, in my opinion, I don't think it is. I don't think it ever will be. I think it's different. I like that it's different. My mom and dad are not on Google Plus. I don't see them ever getting on Google Plus in the short term. But then there are different people you can only reach either on Twitter or Facebook or Google Plus. Usually, I think Facebook is for your friends and family, like your local, real friends that you hang out with, and your family and your grandma. And don't forget, Christmas is at 2 o'clock this year. And then Twitter is for news or for sort of some of your professional contacts or interesting people you want to follow, Justin Bieber, that kind of thing. And then you've got Google Plus, which started out as sort of a male-centric tech geek place, the early adopters, and then has grown, and luckily it's more diverse. And if you look at that big list of circles that are out there, everything from knitting, horseback riding, all sorts of things, Wiccan, whatever you want, And but I still think there are three different services, and there's a need for all three services, and I don't see this displacing Facebook. Do you see that?
Oh, definitely. Google Plus is just Google. I always say that in the future, Google's going to remove the plus. Google Plus is going to remove the plus, and it is just going to be Google. And it's Google Plus is a feature of Google, which means that anywhere from search to Gmail to Google Reader to Android to Google TV to just about any Google experience, you're going to see Google Plus integrated right into the experience. In the future, it's just going to be a part of the experience. It's not going to be a separate service that you subscribe to, which is one reason why you want to get involved now, because these services are going to be much more valuable in the future if you bring your friends with you. Now I see Facebook being more about personal connections and sharing, and sharing your life. It's kind of a life sharing network in many ways, whereas Google Plus is more about using the Google products with your friends. And that's so I do think they are kind of two separate networks. I agree with you on that. And personally, I wish they wouldn't. I think they have to compete in some ways, but I wish that they wouldn't, because I think they do have different purposes.
Well, there's certainly aspects like people fell in love with the circles, and Facebook had lists. I think Twitter has lists, but I'm not. It was cumbersome, and I didn't even really look at it. But circles, you're sort of forced to immediately circle someone to use Google Plus, and it's really neat because I have a circle of funny people who put these silly animated GIFs. Oleg emails me all the time with these animated GIFs and stuff.
I do.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. And
Must be different always.
but sometimes I want to just relax, and sometimes I want to look at my Tech Geek or my what have you. And I think, have we lost? Oh, there he is. There he is. I've lost Jesse. Let me get Jesse back.
I'm here.
Okay, no, I've lost you on my switcher. But anyway, okay, so I'm going to throw it in a sec to Alan, and then to Oleg and Harold, if you want to ask him a question too. But last question: when do you expect the new update to come out, or are you still not sure yet? Because as soon as you write it, it's obsolete the next day. That's the problem.
The book isn't obsolete. Like I said, I kind of stick to the principles versus the features. Yeah, there are features in the book, and I show you how to do things like set up profiles, but it's the principles that make it valuable.
You're right. That's a bad word I used. You're right. Everything applies still. It's just they've added additional things, but yours is still the basics that people need to know to get started if they're a newbie.
Yeah, and that's kind of the goal. And this book is intended to last about 6 months or so. And like I said, there will be a bigger version that will likely come out. And that's probably when you'll see the new update. I'm trying to send updates to Wiley as I see them, and as new prints go out, they'll probably incorporate minor edits here and there as it makes sense. But really, I can't see this book really completely going out of date, at least for several more months. Unless Google completely changes their entire interface and the entire sign-up experience and what circles are and stuff like that. There might be a missing feature or two, but I think the basic core functionality is all in there.
And I'm assuming is the digital version you would download for a Kindle a more recent version than the print one?
No, they're all the same.
Okay, cool. So it's a great stocking stuffer.
Yeah.
You said your target was 6 months. It's about $1 a month. What can you get for $1 a month these days?
Yeah, it should be a good value.
Okay.
And so far, everyone who's read it has that I know of has gotten value from it and has learned something from it. So. From beginner to advanced user, I think a lot there are things in there that everyone can gain.
And okay, I'm going to throw it to Alan, and yeah, I'm excited. I think it's really good. I think it's the Dummies series is so popular and so strong that it's got such name ID and trust for people who have had a pleasant experience in the past with all sorts of things. I think they started out with technology, but there's all sorts of gardening, horseback, whatever. And so I think this is perfect for folks who are brand new. And it opens it up to the masses, which is the one thing that we're lacking in Google Plus. You know, we've got the tech geeks and the journalists and the business people are coming on, but is grandma and on or not? You know, that's who we want to, the soccer moms, that kind of thing. The Facebook people, for lack of a better term. Okay, so let me throw it to Alan. Alan, you got anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I think you actually just touched on the biggest issue that I have, and that is. You know, since the beginning of Google Plus, we've been kind of asking, well, how do we get our friends over? How do we get the people that we're talking to all the time on Facebook over here? And I've kind of been saying for a while, we need that killer application. We need that killer app. We need that thing to say, look, Google Plus gives you this. You don't get it anywhere else. That's why you need to be over here. What do you think that killer feature is?
Yeah, well, the killer feature I think we're talking on right now, I think Hangouts is the killer feature that is distinguishable from Facebook at the moment. The other killer feature is Google itself. The fact that right inside Gmail, I can open up my circles and pull up emails from the different circles of my friends, or I can post from the sandbar at the top of Google that from most Google products without ever having to leave those products. Or that in Ice Cream Sandwich, Google Plus comes bundled with Android as part of the operating system. So if you're a Google user, if you use any Google product, there's a good chance you're going to interface with Google Plus whether you like it or not. So I don't think they're going to be able to avoid it unless they avoid Google.
Yeah, they're kind of sneaky because I know I've got an old obsolete, or I don't use it, my original Gmail or Google account for, I forget whatever email address it is. And so some people have been adding me there that just know me. And I'm like, oh no, it's the wrong one. And so I'm out of the blue without, I don't even have it associated with Google Plus account. It's just a Google account. And so out of the blue, which I guess is now a Google Plus account, and out of the blue I'm getting these emails. So even if you didn't want to be in it, I mean, who doesn't have some sort of attachment to Google? You know, it just is, if you have a computer. Oleg,
yes.
I know you haven't read the book yet, but any thoughts or questions for Mr. Jesse Stay, author of Google Plus for Dummies?
Well, I think what would be helpful is maybe Jesse could throw in a few bones, so to speak, in terms of, you know, are there any specific features that users that are fairly familiar with Google Plus would find in your book, or some tips that would be very helpful that typically people are not aware of? Is there anything like that? You can mention a few things, maybe?
Yeah, you bet. From what I hear others say that they get that are already on Google Plus is I cover several things. Ways to grow your audience is one thing that I approach in the book. I show techniques on how to post in a way that will engage people and get more people commenting on your posts, as well as make your posts more visible to other people.
Mm-hmm.
I also show ways that things like using you can use Google Plus Games to as a networking opportunity, and I show how to use Google Plus Games as a way to grow your audience, build and network with other people. The other thing that I show is how to use what type of etiquette is good on Google Plus, and based on some of my interactions with others on Google Plus, I think there are many that could learn from the etiquette section in this that haven't quite understood that some things are better left unsaid than others. How do you can you elaborate on that? Well, the intent isn't necessarily to be the etiquette police or anything like that, but for instance, if you're seeing trolls on your posts, you see people just on there just to argue, how do you deal with the trolls on your posts? Do you block them? Do you remove them? There's a feature called ignore that a lot of people aren't aware of, that you can just ignore them, and if they're spamming you via notifications or something, you can just ignore them and you won't see any notifications from them anymore.
You can ignore that post, or you can ignore the person. I know you can block
ignore
the
person. You can ignore the person. You'll still be in their feed, and it encircles them, but they can no longer spam you or directly target you, and you won't get notifications from them anymore.
Okay. Harold, do you have anything you want to ask Jesse about, or?
Yeah. Jesse, I live over here by you. I'm in Atlanta, Idaho.
Real quick, this is Harold Carey Jr., who was involved in the longest Hangout ever. Lasted like 77 days, and finally, after 77 days, he had to take a nap. He couldn't go on anymore.
I'm familiar with that. I never got to join, but I know all about it.
Oh, so you know Mark Olson, who started it?
I'm familiar with Mark. Yeah. I don't know him really well, but I know him.
Yeah. Well, what I've been involved with is I work with the Navajo Indians, and I'm going to be using this type of stuff to help the Navajo Indians in training. And so this is what I was, one of the things I would suggest for your books and stuff like this is how it can be used in education, because that's what I'm going to be using it for training people. Mostly, I guess, the majority of things I'm used for Hangouts. It's fantastic, all the stuff you can use here. I bring in the Google Docs, which is up in the corner here, and I bring in my PowerPoint presentations, and I can train all these people in their culture and their language and stuff like that, and I can bring a Navajo speaker in here and have him talk. So all of these things, I think, are really fantastic features. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. There are definitely a lot of applications for educators, especially with Google Hangouts. And now I think that could almost be a book in and of itself, Google Plus for educators, or something like that, or Google Plus for education. But I don't really specifically target any specific group in the book, so it's not completely covered, but I do have an entire chapter on Google Hangouts. And at the time, Google Hangouts with extras wasn't there, so being able to share things and stuff like that wasn't available. So I don't have that quite covered in the book, but it does go over Hangouts, the potential for Hangouts, how to use them, how to get set up, why they're beneficial. Ways you can get to know people better through Hangouts and stuff like that. But it could definitely be more thorough and go into applications like education. I think there's definitely potential for education, ability to share your screen for free, ability to use the Sketchpad and draw things out for people as you're doing it. I think there are custom apps that will come out that will make this an even better experience. That you can pull in things related to what you're trying to teach them, and pull it right into the video screen. So yeah, there's definitely potential. I don't cover that a ton in the book, but it's there.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up. You mentioned you talk about going through setting up a profile with people. How much do you cover the naming issues that surround creating a profile, and what are your feelings on the real name policy that's currently in effect?
Yeah, you bet. I do cover that. That's one of the things where I suggest that you use your real name. That I don't leave any opinion on it in the book, but the fact that Google Plus is known as to suspend accounts that don't use real names, that's made known in the book. And of course, the one thing that isn't included in the book, didn't get out in time, is the Google Plus pages. So, and where the audience is the consumer. The consumers are basically just circling pages, so there's not a ton to learn about pages as a consumer, but that's how to resolve that. Just set up a Google Plus page with the anonymous form of yourself, and now you've got an alternative solution. But that's not quite in the book, but it does warn you to make sure you use your real name, and something that represents you as a person, is a real person in your account. And that's just something that's the way Google wants you using the service.
Okay, and I think let's go back to Oleg.
Yeah, basically, just I had a question regarding the, going back to the question I had before was, can you give us some specific examples? I mean, I realize you cover it in the book, but in terms of people being able to have better following, for example, what would you specifically suggest?
Well, there are ways. I would start with the way you post. The content you post and the things you post can have an effect on people being able to discover you. So post things that are engaging. Post questions are great ways to get people commenting on your posts. Ask a question. Controversial topics can also cause cause people to comment more and to +1 more and to share with their friends more. So your goal is you want to get people commenting and sharing with their friends, and as they share with their friends will discover you and begin to learn more about you. At the same time, circling other people and circling people that you want to be surrounded with is another good way to gain a bigger following. Is you circle other people. Other people will, even if they don't do it immediately, eventually as they get to know you better, they'll circle you back. Mention people in posts, give people credits, compliment people, comment on their posts, and stay involved, get to know them, and make it feel like that you really care about them. And in those ways, they'll naturally follow you back, and you'll gain an audience as a result. And those are the types of things that I talk about, and those are some ways you can very easily get people following you and circling you, and improving your audience on Google+.
Kind of common sense stuff, makes sense.
Yeah, it's how to win friends and influence people. It's an old concept that that still rings true.
I'm getting ready to throw it to Harold, and then we can get to the week's news. See if Harold has another question. But you're right, because it's funny. Sometimes I'll write this in-depth analysis of something, and you get a couple +1s, maybe a share, and then I'll put up a really funny, stupid thing, and 17 shares. It's really funny. These things that I don't know.
It's all about the content.
Yeah, and you never know. It could be. I don't know. It's funny. Somehow some of the things. Okay. What do you think of Clout? And then I'm going to throw it to Harold. What do you think of Clout?
As far as Clout, I think
because they've just incorporated Google Plus stats into their.
Yeah, I think
silly,
it's an interesting way to see how many how influential a person is, but I wouldn't rely on it wholly. It's known to be flawed, but it's a fun way to get free stuff. That's I'm not the biggest fan, but it has its use.
I know we had Liza, who's not here tonight, or at least not here yet, but she said she's actually seen job applications or job postings where you have to have a certain Clout score in order to apply for the job.
Really, I think that's a dumb way of doing it, because Clout scores I mean, there are certain. I mean, it's one factor, and if you're relying wholly on a Clout score or relying on a Clout score as a entry factor, you're going to miss some good candidates as a result.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know. I dismissed it as stupid initially, and then or made fun of it, or not stupid, and then now I've got a high one, so now I like it. But it's a fun thing to check, like, oh, I've lost 3 points. But it's weird. I started out, I was like a 45, now I'm a 65, and then I'll be a 50 next week, and then a 68. You know what I mean? It fluctuates wildly, and I'm the same guy doing the exact same thing. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they're continually adjusting their algorithm. They're continually at the same time, they rely on the amount of content you post. I mean, I've got I guess an okay Clout score. I don't look at it very often, so I don't know what it is right now. But but Clout still doesn't account for Facebook pages you admin. It doesn't account for blog subscribers. It doesn't account for. There are many factors it doesn't account for. Real life interactions. How influential are you in real life with people? So there are things that you're missing out on if you're relying on Clout is the only score that you rate people by, and that's the risk that you run into with Clout. Is a lot of people are ranking people by that Clout score, and they shouldn't be.
Harold?
Yeah, one of the things that we had a lot of fun with was the genealogy in there, and so I was thinking that you could talk a little bit about hobbies. And like I say, when we had the longest hangout, we would ask him, well, who your parents were and all this kind of stuff. And well, what do you think about using this as a tool to promote your hobbies and I know the biggest one on right now is photography. We have more photographers on Google Plus than anywhere in the world, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, people are sharing. They're basically sharing these cartoonists. I just got mugged. If you look at my profile, I just got mugged by one of the cartoonists on there, and they're doing it for free, and they're making tons of money. Like this one guy, he started cartooning guys in the Hangouts, and now he's getting paid like tons of money from other people. He started a business. Two of these people started a complete business just by hanging out in Hangouts and using Google+.
Yeah, that's why I say Hangouts are one of the killer features compared to Facebook. There's just nothing like it out there, not for free at least. And who knows if Facebook at some point will compete, but Hangouts just bring a level of real-time interactivity that you can't get anywhere else. And now that you can, now that they're starting to allow more and more people to broadcast their Hangouts, I think you'll see that more and more. Yeah, I got I had a great mugshot of me where I was zombified by another artist. You can see that on my profile, but it does seem photography and these artists are kind of I guess if you're I'm an old FriendFeed user, and FriendFeed, it was the librarians, but photographers and artists seem to be the librarians of Google+. And yeah, they're taking the place by storm, partly because of Hangouts and the way that you can bring an audience in and share your artwork and your talents live. I think any type of art form, any type of performance or anything like that fits really well with Google+ because of Hangouts.
Yeah, we were with two photographers from Alaska. That was a cool hangout. We spent a couple hours with two photographers from Alaska.
Yeah, and you can do it all around the world. That's what's great about it.
Okay, let me let's get to these new changes. I want to get Priz, because I know you kind of went through it, and Oleg and everybody went through these, but let's talk about these. Some major changes to our main guest tonight has been Jesse Stay, who's going to stick around with us. And Jesse Stay is the author of Google+ for Dummies, which is in bookstores, I guess, and it's on Amazon. You can get it for your Kindle, and you don't have to have a Kindle to read the Kindle version. If you want to download it right now, you can do it from Amazon. You can get the free Kindle app for your phone or for your computer, and it's like $5 or $6 or something. It's really inexpensive, and it's a great intro to Google+. So, okay, Priz, big week for Hangouts. For all sorts of people. And the biggest thing I like is that you can, and we tested this with Oleg last night, that you can start a Hangout from a post. Every post on Google+ now has a Hangout, and it's interesting the way it works. On the post, there's a Hangout option under every single post in your stream, and you can click that, and then it will put a comment under that post and say, Alan Furstenberg is started a Hangout to discuss this post. And so you kind of have to read the post to find out about that Hangout, because it's not in your stream, it's not on my stream, it's only in the comment on the post unless you invite the public. Then it would show up, or invite certain people. But so it kind of really helps narrow the conversation focus to that topic. It's a neat way. What are your thoughts on that and the rest of the changes, Alan? Let's do a quick rundown here.
Well, there's a massive number of changes that have been coming out this week. They've been talking about how they're releasing at least one change a day, and they've met and exceeded that. They released a whole pile of Hangout changes at once earlier this week, and I think it's pretty clear that they, like our guest this evening and like all of us have been saying for a while, realize that Hangouts are really where it's going to be at. So they've been putting in some really souped up features. I think this first one that we're talking about, starting the Hangout from the post, it's a great feature. Everyone I've seen talking about it's really excited about it. It's certainly increased some engagement with a lot of the conversation, a lot of the discussion. I think it's got some flaws still. This is one of the things that probably could have used a few more days in refinement and testing, but I think this is an incredibly clever feature. It's a great way to tie in two of the sides in Google+ that weren't so well tied in before. And I think bringing it in this way was an excellent start.
What are the flaws, Alan?
Well, the first is that it shows up, as Dan noted, it shows up in your comments as a link. And it shows up visibly as a link, one of the blue underlined links that we're used to seeing at other places.
Right.
Nowhere else does a Hangout show up as a link. It shows up as a green button, or it shows up as text that's a button that says join this Hangout. But for some reason in comments it shows up as a link.
Well, it's like on Google Talk. It's the same kind of deal. You also get a link there.
Right, but one of the problems though is everywhere else that it shows up as a button that hides that link that hides that link in some ways. And in hiding it, Google is able to do some magic for people that are using specific Google features like multiple login. This link doesn't respect multiple login. So people who do use that Google feature can't use that link. They instead have to copy the link and paste it and do some editing on it if they know what they're doing. And most of the people using multiple login can do that navigation. So, is it too big a deal? No, it's not. But here's one of those places where they didn't pay as much attention to detail as Google usually does. And aesthetically, this is a place where every place else in Google+, the Hangout shows up as a button, but here it shows up as a link. So you can no longer say, just look for the button that says join a Hangout.
Well, I think the thing there is, like I said, I think it alludes to Google Talk. Is because when you invite somebody to Hangout in your Google Talk, little chat window comes up, that you have it as a link there because it's like a comment basically. And I think they're doing exactly the same thing here. In fact, my guess is they're using the same exact code there because it's comments in chat and Google Talk are probably very tight in terms of how they work to, the comments in Google+. And I think that's what they're doing. I don't think that they're doing it for any other reason.
I think they certainly took an easier way out. It's one of those things that I think I'm glad to see it there. I'm glad to see it as a start, but I think they could do a little more work on it.
Yeah.
The other thing I found very interesting about the way the feature works is if you started a Hangout, for example, by clicking on the Hangout link, and I started a Hangout by clicking on the Hangout link, we've created two different Hangouts at the same time, possibly. Mm-hmm. That's a little odd to me. It would seem to me that if there was already a Hangout active for a post, that pressing the Hangout link would take you into that Hangout if it was possible to do so.
You're positive that's the way it is?
I'm positive. I tested that.
Because we didn't try it with Dan, so I don't know.
Let me just say, I'm going to open the Hangout to the public, and I've got some folks asking, and I thought I had invited all the groups, but let's do it. And hopefully we won't have the Occupy people back. Let me go ahead and...
Would you like me to go out so some other people can get in? Or
you can stay. You're fine. Early bird gets the worm. Let me see here. To the public. Circles, extended circles, public. Bam.
One of the things that I find in terms of flows for Hangouts is, it says that, if, let's say I start a Hangout, and then on the right side there, it shows that, there's one live public Hangout, for example, which is mine, and it's got the button for join, and I'm already running it. So it gives me a chance to join my own Hangout again.
There are a number of problems with that Hangout on the right-hand side issue. There have been times that I will see that there and I'll try to join a Hangout through it, and it takes me to an empty Hangout. So that's a place that needs some work as well.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to still work on that, but it is a great feature. I thought it was I think one of the things that they've done, the biggest thing in my opinion, if you were going to look at it from an abstract point of view, is that they're trying to make Hangouts more prominent. Because before, you had this little button that says invite people, which is nowadays is nothing in terms of why it's important. And at the same time, on the same size, similar placement, you have a button for Hangout. And to me, it was it was almost like it was semi-hidden that way, because it was just something that's there on the site, like, Facebook ads, that who cares about Facebook ads? Same kind of approach, that deal. And I always thought that Google should have made Hangouts much more prominent. And I think that's one of the things they're doing right now with what they're doing, is making Hangouts to be much more part of the Google Plus experience.
Wasn't it an afterthought, though? I think, Jesse, you saw that interview where I guess one of the co-founders, Sergey, just suggested, hey, why don't we do this? It was kind of like, hey, this would be cool. And they didn't realize. And I've talked to engineers one engineer on the Hangouts team, and he said they were shocked at how big the Hangouts got. And like you said, it's the killer feature, but it was sort of a, you know, they did it on
it was throwing spaghetti at the wall, and one piece stuck, and this was the piece, the big piece that stuck. But yeah, this was just an afterthought from what I've heard, and it's ended up being one of the bigger features of Google Plus. I read this new feature is kind of cool because it entices people to get in and hang out with you. I had someone do that on one of my posts today. They started a Hangout, and I saw it, and it said that it says so and so is discussing this post with you on Google Hangouts, and I try it, and of course I was too late by the time I tried it, but it made me want to go and figure out what is this guy talking about in regards to.
You almost have to go. If you don't go,
so they're have to go.
They're gonna talk about you. I mean, you want to be there to defend yourself, right?
Yeah. What are they talking about me?
Right. You know. Yeah. So Hangouts, it's even bigger than Buzz.
Yeah.
That was a joke. Okay. Let's
much bigger than Buzz.
So Priz, tell me. And if someone mutes any of the new folks, if you have a speaker on instead of headphones, if you get muted, it's nothing personal. It's just because we're getting audio back. But you can always unmute yourself if you want to talk. No problem. Okay, Priz, tell me this thing. It's search locally, talk globally. Tell me what that's about. Let me get Priz.
We didn't even cover the rest of the new Hangout features, did we?
No, we haven't.
No, we still have a pile more Hangout features.
Okay, well,
to talk about first.
let's do that. Let's do that.
I like the reindeer antlers personally. Surprised no one has them on today.
Oh my God! I didn't mean to block. I'm almost blocked Jesse. That's one thing I don't like.
I'll get back in.
We're in a Hangout with extras, which doesn't have the antlers.
Right.
Yeah, that's the only problem.
By design, we're in that one. So okay, what else we got, Priz? I know we've discussed you can start a Hangout. Every post now has the thing start a Hangout, and then you want to just go down here and tell us.
Sure. Another big feature that's coming. They say it's going to be in the next release for Android, which is due out within a couple of days, and a future release for iOS will be that you'll be able to start a Hangout from your mobile device, which has been a feature requested pretty much from the beginning. And the way they're doing it's going to be a little different as well. You'll be starting a Hangout based on the conversations that you're already having using the mobile app's chat system. So they're leveraging existing features and bringing it into the broader, the more popular feature as well. So that's good. I think the one that's got the most people talking right now, though, is that Hangout on Air was released to a pretty wide range of additional people, and with the promise that everyone soon will be able to run their own Hangout on Air. And what that's going to let you do is run a Hangout with 8 people instead of 10 people. It'll be automatically streamed to the post where you created it. So the thing that says that Dan McDermott is having a Hangout, underneath that will be a live stream of what's going on inside the Hangout, delayed by a few seconds. And then when everything is done, it's going to be posted to your YouTube account immediately. So you can then edit it from there if you wish, or make it public, or whatever you wish. That's going to be a big feature. A lot of people are very happy about that coming.
You know where I think that's most exciting? Brands. I think the ability for brands to go on air and broadcast is going to introduce all kinds of opportunities. Having members of the executive team of a company all a part of one Hangout and broadcasting to their customers gives a lot of opportunities.
We're going to a practical application we're going to use. We hired 2 salespeople today for one of my newspapers in Virginia, and I want to train them in how to use my ad, which is this software we use for them to make spec ads for clients, right? And so they can be, I think one's in Stevens City, one's in Winchester. I'm in Bentonville, and the sales manager is in Front Royal. All 4 of us can get on a Hangout, and I can show them exactly what to do, and they can ask questions, and then I can record it. I mean, it's amazing. And then I can just play that the next time, so I don't have to reinvent the wheel. over and over again. And I'll tell you, the Hangouts on air, it's interesting because I got the questions you get to do that, and they said they wanted to make sure I don't use any licensed content that I don't have the rights to use, and that how many times I'm going to do it. It was interesting, the questions as they evaluate and decide, but they haven't approved me yet, so I'll see. But I'm on some list, so I may have those. But it's not a big deal. It'd be convenient. It's the most convenient way for Google Plus users, which is my entire audience base for this program, to watch. But
it's very interesting. One of the things that happens when you join one is that it puts up a disclaimer right up front that you need to click on that says you understand that you're being recorded and you're not going to do anything that you're not allowed to do that'll get Google in trouble, and so forth and so on. So that's probably the biggest feature that Hangouts on Air is forced to do, that the lawyers got involved and made sure that you click on this before you can enter the Hangout.
Okay, and I guess the next thing, call anyone with a telephone from your Hangout at regular Google Voice rates. But it's free if it's local, right? I mean, if it's U.S. or Canada, you're saying you can go...
That's right. Last week, or a couple of weeks ago, they had announced that we would be able to do calls to the U.S. and Canada through a Hangout. And now they're expanding that and saying not only can you call the U.S. and Canada, you can call anywhere in the world. And you'll be using the standard low Google Plus rates to do so. Oh, sorry, the standard low Google Voice rates to do so.
Okay. And then let's see what else we got. I know Oleg really is excited about this feature. They've replaced the mustache with the antlers, and Oleg thinks Oleg is thrilled. You think this is silly and useless, right?
Totally. Except before we used to have a single piece of graphic, now we have 3. So there is, definite enhancement.
But you got to admit, for kids, well, I guess you have to be 18, right? But they're saying that they're going to try to figure out a way to get kids in, but do it legally and safely. And then, is Liza here? Liza.
Hi.
Hey,
Liza, how you doing?
Good. I'm on a different laptop, and it's amazing how slow this is.
Is it a Mac?
I usually am on a Mac, but I've never used the baby Mac. It's not the new one.
Oh, so it's even slower than the regular Mac. I got you.
Yeah, it's really slow. So I type a letter, and then I have to wait.
Okay,
I have the same problem with my MacBook Air.
I'm on the Air right now, but I actually just ordered a new Air today. So
should have gotten the Chromebook.
I want
I've
one of
heard
those
Chrome
too.
has worse issues.
Liza, is it Seismic, right? That's your day gig?
That's my day job.
When you're not torturing Oleg on my show? You're
hey,
the PR person?
I'm
just kidding. I like yanking Oleg's chain. All right. So next they got Priz, I guess. Hangouts from slower connections. What's the deal there? What's that about?
This one was just announced this evening. In fact, it was announced shortly before we came on live that there was going to be, in standard Hangouts, in the Settings tab, you would be able to say if you're over a slower connection, if you were doing this from a hotel or doing this from somewhere overseas. What this would do is it would decrease the rate at which your video is being streamed, would tend to use a lower quality stream, and do some other optimizations and tunings so that you would still be able to have a presence, but that your video wouldn't just totally crap out and die. This was announced this evening. I don't even know how widely it's rolled out at this point. But this is the sort of thing. It was literally just announced this evening. I put the link to it in our program notes for the evening. So I can, you can pull it up from there. What this will, a lot of people have already reacted and saying that they're very excited to see this feature.
That's huge for international. I mean, you get to places like Indonesia that is very active.
It depends how well it will work. If we're talking about going down to 4-bit graphics, I don't know if it's going to be that huge, and if it's going to be moving. I mean, you need to have the sound going at full clip, otherwise it's useless.
Well, that's going to be it. Is that it will be optimizing. It will make sure the sound is there because that's still, that takes up a lot less bandwidth.
Sure.
It means that.
That is most important.
Currently, when it switches to you for the big picture, that's the only time that it uses up that bandwidth. So it optimizes sending a smaller clip for the thumbnail image now. It's going to be even sending a lower resolution clip in the future under low-res version. And your big picture will be updated a little less frequently.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll still be seeing the pictures. You'll still be getting the video updates, but it's going to make sure, it's going to give the higher priority to audio. So you'll still have a presence, even if it's not as good a presence, it's not going to be as bad a presence as people are experiencing today.
Yeah, you look at places like Indonesia that they're huge on social media, but they primarily use it via their really small, sometimes not even smartphone device. The more Google can start targeting these users, the more likely you're going to get a worldwide international audience that's bigger than the U.S. audience.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be interesting to see how the thing plays out.
Yeah, I think this could be bigger than Orkut, you know? This could be big.
Let's hope.
Yeah. Okay, so what else we got here? We got a long list here. We got to bust through this thing. Hangout developer preview gets face track. Okay, this is totally Priz. Where's Priz?
Yeah.
Hangout.
Yeah. We all knew this was my
This
item,
is
and
one
I
of
had
those mainstream, broad interest topics here. Hangout developer preview gets face tracking and sound effects. Do tell.
You got to understand, this is a huge feature because what this will let people do is it'll let people add their own video effects in addition to the antlers. You can't imagine just how big. No, seriously. What this does is it basically gives the tool, the silly tool of antlers and mustaches. It gives the developers outside of Google a way to tap into the same thing. We've talked about this last week. We've talked about this weeks in the past. We're finally seeing this feature being made available to the developing community.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm pretty stoked. Go ahead, Jesse.
We can tell how stoked you are, Dan.
That opens up all kinds of things. You know where I can't wait for them to apply this technology? It's not even Hangouts. I want them to apply this to Google TV in the TV watching experience. I want to be able to apply layers on top of live TV.
So you can sit and look at your antlers and 55-inch screen.
We have to have something for the
go.
Mac users, Oleg, to keep them happy.
Hey,
Yes.
I'm just kidding, Liza. That's a dig just there.
I'm a Mac user who's also an Android girl, so I'm a complex.
You're a
one.
hybrid, in other words.
I use Mac, I use Android, I use PC, I use BlackBerry, I use it all.
I do too. I should say.
Jesse, quick question, and then we'll get to this next topic. But when you were writing Google Plus for Dummies, how much access did you have to Google? Were they cooperative or aloof or what?
I have friends that work there, and they wouldn't even talk to me. So I was pretty much left to myself. But I tried to keep it at a level that they could adapt as they added new features, and it's worked out pretty well so far. But yeah, I had a few ideas of where things were going. Some of it I found I had to go around things to get inside information, which so I didn't get anything from my personal connections, but I did get a few things from other sources. So the Google Plus team is pretty tight-lipped, and I mean, I went and visited them. They won't even allow you up to their floor. In fact, they don't allow other Google employees up to the floor that Google Plus is. It's so top secret.
Yeah, when I'm in a Hangout, I was in a Hangout with Denny, who works and he's now a friend of Oleg. They're in the same town, and he's like, You're not recording this, right? You know, this is all
I had
off the
lunch
record.
with him while I was out there, so yeah.
Yeah, but they're great guys and they're innovating and it's very competitive. You know, if
Absolutely.
Just like remember when Oleg, remember when Facebook announced their Skype integration? It was right around the same time that the Google Plus
Whatever happened to that?
came out. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how you compete with Hangouts. I mean, that was like
What happened to that is very simple, Liz. I used to be able to talk to my father-in-law over Skype. He's in another country without any problems with video. And now I cannot. Every time I try to do it, video just gets killed.
Are you kidding me? It's still buggy?
Well, it's not that it's buggy. I don't think they have the the capacity to handle, you just look at it. I mean, you have a service, right? You have like whatever they had, 20, 30 million people on it, right?
Yeah.
Not at the same time, but something like that. All of a sudden, you add Facebook with its supposedly 750 million, which is more, that could make the phone calls using the same deal. You don't just get this in place without any repercussions, in my view. I mean, Google did probably the best job of anybody out there to be able to scale things. I don't think Skype has anywhere near the capacity to be able to do what Google does. And so I don't know what they were thinking, but it certainly doesn't work that well anymore.
Well, not just that, but on Facebook itself, if you try to use a service on Facebook, the video quality is horrible. It's not usable. I tried using it to get my kids talking with my mom, and she went back to normal Skype afterwards.
I think this
so Oleg, you don't think that the problems you're having with Skype have anything to do with them being purchased by Microsoft?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing, though, isn't it? I mean, they haven't had a chance to ruin it yet. They just got it, right?
No. Come on, let's not get into the let's stick with Mac bashing. There's no reason to get into it and stuff. But
Oleg, I love Oleg. I love Mac.
But no, seriously, it just there was no time for them to be able to get in and really do anything about it. So I don't think it has anything to do with Microsoft. Microsoft might be able to actually improve the things by being able to have larger networks and their capacity and things like that. But who knows what they're going to do. The bottom line is that you see when Google came out with circles, immediately Facebook came out with something, whatever the hell they call it, groups or whatever they call it, something to make it similar. I mean, they tried to catch up in terms of features to Google where they can. Notice they haven't done anything like Hangout so far, because I don't think it's that doable that easily.
I don't think Facebook's trying to catch up to Google. I think they're just trying to
totally, Jesse.
have footings. Well, I know people that work there, and that hasn't been the perception I've got.
There's too much of a coincidence, okay? They come out with circles, and then Facebook turns around, comes out with something similar. Why?
Facebook has had lists for...
They're not... Listen, what he's saying, it's not about catching up, though. It's not like... I mean, Facebook is 15 times bigger than Google Plus today.
Right.
Yeah.
But so it's not in
people.
terms of catching up to Google Plus, or it's trying to minimize the threat and to make sure that if they do have a killer app or a killer feature like circles or some neat thing that catches on, and it's something they can implement without ruining their experience, then they can do that. And that's just smart. They'd be negligent to do otherwise, don't you think?
Facebook just brought lists to the forefront, which have always been there. They're one of the first to have lists, but they brought it more in your face into the experience to show that they've got these as well. It's all about minimizing risk.
Have they moved the tiny little link or create a page from the bottom of the page to somewhere where people can actually see it? Have they done anything like that?
It's very visible in the upper right-hand side of pages.
It is now? Okay.
All right. This is fun. I'm enjoying a new.
So one more thing.
Jesse, I'm glad Jesse's here. He's definitely bringing it up a notch.
Well,
thank you.
Oh boy! Oleg's getting fired. Oleg's adjusting his seat cushion. He's getting ready.
One of the things we didn't talk about, speaking of Hangouts, is this new feature they announced this morning early. Almost at the same time, Alan was trying to get me to do a Hangout. It was like 6:45 a.m. my time, and so I had to miss that Hangout. But seriously, they did announce this one feature that allows you to now, when you search. Well, before I do that, let me disagree with Dan. Then when you look at search, and you're saying that this, the moms and pops and all of that is all on Facebook, and Google Plus is for techies, I respectfully disagree. Because if you look at trends on Google Plus right now, I got Barry Bonds, Kobe Bryant, Harry Reid, Zynga, Sherlock Holmes, Britney Spears. This is not techie issues, okay?
Yeah, but they're not. Those people are not interacting on Google Plus, except to the extent when they're working with Google on a promotion.
Well, a lot of it, though, a lot of it is
about these people. Is what I'm saying.
A lot of it is who you've circled. My you have a great point. We are all victims of who we circle. That's who we see in our streams.
Right. So
and if you circle,
so anyway, I just want to disagree with you.
So you're right.
But one thing I did want to say is that the new feature they announced is when you do a search, now you also have geographic location. Remember how before, when you had the Google app on a normal phone like Android, you could actually go and do a search of posts that are local to you based on the GPS. Okay? And that feature was not available.
So suspect.
that feature was not, no, it worked fairly well actually. It was not available on the regular Google Plus unless you're using the mobile website. Then you could actually get to the same information. So you can look at posts that are geographically close to you. Well, now they've added that capability to Google Plus itself, I mean the desktop app, but when you actually do a search for something, it asks you where do you want to do the search from, and you can select everywhere, which is default, or you can type in a geographic location, and it'll only show you posts for that location. They just added it this morning.
I'm not sure if that'll sell the close friends and family audience, though. I think, for instance, my parents live in Boston. I live out in Utah, so we're
no, it's not for that. It's just for the purpose. No, it's not for that, Jesse. It's just to be able to actually interact with people who are around you and see what's going on around you. That's what it's for. It's not to try to get family in there. Obviously, you're absolutely right. But for this purpose, I think it's great.
I think what would be interesting, though, what I want to watch is if Google Plus opens up to the under 18 users, the 13 to 18.
Absolutely.
And when that happens, the moms and dads will have to follow.
So that goes back to last week when we were talking about the AK-48 group.
Your favorite group, yeah.
They're not my favorite group, but it's a great example. There's 200 of them, I learned.
Yes.
So
just refresher for folks who weren't watching. What is this group?
Pom.
What is this group for folks who weren't watching, Liza?
So it's a Japanese. It's a group of Japanese women who are very popular. There's 200 of them, and they look very much alike. And you'd have a hard time saying whether or not they're under 18 or not. You can look at them and tell me what you think. But the fact that both Bradley Horowitz and Chichu said Vic and Bradley Horowitz both said how excited they were, and that Bradley actually went over there to land them, makes me wonder what the plans are in regards to audiences under 18.
Yeah, I know they're. I guess there are legal issues, and there's there's obvious liability, and then there are certain requirements, and so they just decide not to deal with it and just make it, it's easier that way. So, but they are going to tackle that because they recognize that that's a huge percentage of Facebook's user base, and in order to become big, they've got to have a wide array of entry points. Okay, and so go ahead.
You think of it. That's partly how Facebook grew. Now they started with the college audience, which is over 18, but some of the younger audience as well started using it, which bleeds into that college audience, and as a result, the parents naturally followed because they had to. In order to keep up with their kids, they had to get on Facebook to know what their kids were up to, and for a while. The largest audience were the 13 to 28-year-old demographic, and then the fastest growing audience were the baby boomer generation. So it kind of showed that the parents were and grandparents were rushing to get on so they could follow their kids. I think that's what Google Plus is going to have to do is get the younger users using it, and once they get the younger users using it is their main platform, the older users will naturally join. Now again, I don't know if this.
I'm actually surprised that Google hasn't moved on this more and faster. And one of the big things that I think they could have done to appeal to people, appeal to parents, is be able to say things like, look, we've got a system in place, we've got the security in place, we've got the permissions in place, that you can very narrowly make sure that your kids are only talking to their friends and your relatives. And with some very relatively simple technological extensions, they could almost make it so that you could have, accounts for your 8-year-old where you keep a very close eye on what that account is doing. And I'm surprised they didn't go in that direction yet.
It would be a brilliant marketing direction.
I agree.
That's definitely a place.
Your 8-year-old's going to be on the internet. Let's shepherd her on with Gmail and all these different products in which, in a way in which she'll be safe and able to communicate in a way that isn't scary to parents.
Oh, I totally agree. Both my 11-year-old and my 9-year-old are both begging to get on Facebook. I'm not letting them yet until they get at least a little closer to 13. We'll see how close I get. But part of that is because I don't have enough controls to be able to keep on top of who they're talking to and what they're doing. And if Google provided that, their friends would all start using it. They'd be pressured to start using it. They'd come to me, and I'd see, oh, okay, there are controls. I can allow myself to be on top of what they're doing, and that will force me to get on Google Plus. And they've just brought a huge audience in just by enabling that age range.
And then
Here I'm just
would be on. So it's a whole. Even though I'm not a parent, it's a whole. It would be very powerful.
Hiram, you noted it's COPPA, right? COPPA.
Child Online Protection Act.
Give us a 10 seconds or 15 seconds on what that is.
Essentially, it's the Child Online Privacy Protection Act, and it is what prevents. What I find confusing, though, actually, is what is preventing Google from using Google Plus in this environment. But what's interesting is if you look at something like Gmail and Google Apps for Education School, you can actually control all of the destinations and domains that students have access to. And so I don't see what the real difference is between using Google Plus in a closed environment, which you could do within a Google Apps for domain.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that was a thing, and I'd read about it. It's a big hassle. All right, we've got.
It causes all sorts of problems in a number of other Web 2.0 applications for educators.
It's not nearly as bad as this horrific bill that's before Congress and the anti-piracy thing. Okay, Alan, let's get. We got like 12 topics. Let's bust through them real quick, and let's get in full McLaughlin grip mode. If you want to weigh in, and overpower us with your vocal cords. Okay, search locally, talk globally. What's that about, Priz?
That's what we just talked about. That's what Oleg just talked about.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Help you search locally.
I'm multitasking. Improve moderator spam controls.
This is going to be great. There is only the hint of it so far, but basically what you're going to be able to do is Google is now essentially looking through posts, through comments in a thread, detecting things that may be spam. If they are spam, they flag them for you and hide them. So it gives you the original poster the ability to open things up so other people can see it. It gives you increased moderator control. You give feedback about whether something is spam or not. Great new control. Hopefully it'll trim down the number of trolls and spams that we have in our comments.
Okay, Oleg, that's kind of. Aren't you surprised how little spam there is? I mean,
What?
it's very rare.
What?
I think it goes back to.
On here, I don't get much.
I don't get much either.
Oh, I get a ton.
I get very little.
Jesse,
And,
you get a lot?
Oh yeah, compared to Facebook, I get a ton.
Well, you
Okay,
have like
I'm actually gonna run down
25,000.
because I gotta
Practically
open the door,
nothing.
but I get a horrific amount, and then maybe it's related to being a girl, but almost everything I post has spam on it.
I'm the same way.
I get almost nothing.
Maybe because I'm a girl too. No,
Maybe I think it's your
joking.
follower count. Liza, how
Well, I
many
think
followers
the
do you
thing with
have?
Jesse is probably because he wrote the book for dummies. So sorry.
Oh, whatever. Liza is dashed off. Jesse, you've got what, like 25,000 people have circled you?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I think that's what they're gonna do. When someone like you or MG Siegler or whoever, if you're gonna waste your time spamming, you're gonna do it with someone where there's an audience. You know.
So you block
Yeah,
him.
but I've got subscriptions enabled on Facebook, and I don't see the same thing there. It's there's some improvement, I think. It's bound to happen, but I do think they need to improve it a little, their spam detection a little bit.
Okay, and then I saw an article, Google check-in. Priz, did you see this as well? The Google check-in offers are going to go live on the Android app. I guess they're getting ready. I'm not sure. It's a way to. I see that you'll see this on Facebook. So and so is it Gold's Gym, or is it the mall, or is it Starbucks or whatever?
What it looks like is this is them launching a full attack against Foursquare and Groupon, or sorry, the company that used to be known as Groupon. This is basically it's trying the same sort of thing. It's trying to pair your real life. It's trying to pair your location up with your Google Actions. So this is just part of bringing the whole Google experience and tying it in through Google Plus.
Okay. What do you think, Oleg?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that's exactly. I mean, wholeheartedly agree with Alan.
Oleg agreed with me.
Make a note.
No.
Make a note of this moment. They're actually the best. They're like Paula Abdul and Simon.
That's the Ellen part.
They're off camera. They're the best of friends, and they hang out all the time. This is all a big show. It's a big group hug after the show. Okay, it's easier to share from Blogger to Google. That's kind of cool for folks who still use Blogger.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of cool and it's kind of not. There are issues with it, but basically, what this lets people do is when you create a post on Blogger, and you hit publish, it brings up another screen that says, "Do you also want to publish this to your Google Plus account?" And it's not bad. It's a nice feature, but it's got issues. You can't post to a page currently. So if you've got a page set up for your blog, then your page doesn't get it. Your account gets it instead. You can't do it for posts that you have scheduled in the future. So if you have a blog post that is scheduled to be posted 2 hours from now, it won't automatically get posted to your stream 2 hours from now. So it's a good first step, but it's got a lot of ways to go. And of course, the big issue is that if you're using a pseudonym on, you need to tie in your real name again. So you lose there.
Well, Alan, of course, you haven't mentioned that for at least a week.
For at least 5 minutes, yeah.
Alan is big on that. He's one of the NIMS. All right, so we've got. I don't know if Alan, anybody ever going to beat? Nobody's going to beat WordPress, right? They're still going to be they're the Facebook of content management systems, right?
Oh yes, there are several startups in the space.
But I mean, if you're looking at, it's about ease of use. It's about mature code. It's about plugins available.
Dan, it's all about service.
I mean, if something's easy, what do you mean in terms of like support?
In terms of support, in terms of what gets delivered, in terms of ease of use. I mean, you nailed it there. And right now, Google knows how to deliver ease of use and service. They know how to deliver services.
But I'm talking about Blogger compared to WordPress.
I'm sure you're talking Blogger compared to WordPress. No, I understand that. The question turns into Google is able to offer this huge holistic experience. The whole package. That's what we're seeing with Google Plus. We're seeing that whole set of tie-ins. WordPress can offer you a lot of different modules, and some of them are great modules that Blogger can't do. But with that comes a little bit of, well, you got to learn how to do these things on your own. And that's a trade-off. And there are going to be people who go with either one. But
I disagree on the modules
some of
thing
these startups
with
who are out there
Blogger.
with some good ideas are going to get plucked up by Google, and WordPress is going to have a run for their money. I don't think WordPress is in any way, shape, or form an enterprise product. And when we look at where a lot of the spend comes from, it's from big companies.
I'm frustrated.
I disagree about the
Jesse, go ahead.
extendability of Blogger, in that I run my blog on Blogger. I used to be a big WordPress user. I did self-hosted WordPress for a while, and that itself is more extendable, but WordPress.com isn't anywhere near as extendable as, at least for as cheap as you can get Blogger. I can customize my website, my blog, as much as I want on Blogger.com for the most part. The templates that they offer.
But that's not who Blogger is appealing to. They're appealing to the people who all they want to do are simple template changes, maybe add a gadget or two from the gadget library into the right-hand side. But what what Blogger is really looking to do is to provide an out-of-the-box turnkey experience.
All right, Liza disagree, and then Jesse disagree.
3 years ago, I don't think that's the case now.
No, I think you can even see that more with the latest things that Blogger came out with.
When I looked at it, I was shocked at how much it had grown, how more advanced it was, how more user-friendly, how more flexible it was. I mean, I need to take another look. But I'm very frustrated. Getting back to what Jesse was saying, I'm very frustrated with WordPress.com. I have my main newspaper, Warren County Report. We've had our blog there. We've got a lot of hits on that site. But I want to do something like, I love this new issue reader, ISSUU. And it's beautiful. And what I really like about it, we've been using Scrib, but Scrib support is like who cares service. It's ghetto support. They don't if you have any kind of weird issue, that they don't deal with you. So we're switching to issue, but I can't embed an issue player when I say when we have an issue of the newspaper and we want to make it available to people to read online, because the paper's free, so if you look at it online, I'm saving 20 cents. I don't have to print the paper, and so it's big money. You know, I mean, we go through. It's a lot of money to print. So anyway, I can't embed that player there. Now they have certain short codes where you can embed with like a YouTube video or things like that. But if you're not one of their partner agreed safe things, then they don't do it. And they do it for performance issues and for security. And I can understand the rationale, but I wish they would open it up a little bit more to some mainstream products like Issue Reader, which is very popular, and even Google uses it. I think it's the most popular reader, but you can't use it on WordPress.com. You can only use it on your self-hosted WordPress site.
Yeah, if you go to stayalive.com, stay_alive.com, that's my blog. You go there, you won't even notice that it's a Blogger hosted blog. I've completely customized it. It has my own design. Don't do it in a small browser. It doesn't expand very well. That's my own fault. But it's completely customized. I've been able to add any HTML I want. Now they add a few tags into there. It's not completely HTML5 standardized or anything like that, but I customize the HTML almost completely with it, and I don't pay a cent for that. And it handles all the traffic I need to handle. Never had it go down.
That's just it. Like that's the point that you're making right there about it handling all the traffic you want. I mean, that's scalability. That's incredibly valuable.
And that's what I meant by a service. I mean, that's the thing that Google offers, is they can say, look, we've got incredible uptime reliability. Blogger just announced within the past week or so that they got the #1 rating from, I don't know, the #1 end of year rating from some major review group, because they had almost near perfect uptime. They had an average of 10 minutes outage a month.
I'm going to take another look at that, and I know I'm going to take another look at Blogger for real, because I'm struggling with this. Anthony, you wanted to talk about WordPress?
The only thing that I would say about WordPress that makes it better than Blogger and so many other of these blogging platforms is that it's open source, and because it's open source, you can do absolutely, well, I mean, if you have the capabilities, if you know how to program and such, if you know how to program, you can do absolutely positively anything you want with WordPress. And because Blogger is not an open source project, you don't have that you don't have that ability to customize it as much. I don't know how much you can customize Blogger. Jesse, you seem to suggest that you can customize it, a lot, but because WordPress is open source, you'll always be able to customize WordPress at least just a little tiny bit more than you'd be able to customize Blogger.
Of course, that's a niche thing, Jesse. Let me throw it to Jesse, but that's a niche thing. I mean, that's for programmers, but for Joe Sixpack who wants a blog, that's not really relevant because they don't have time or the desire to do that.
No, but
I'm surprised though. Let me throw it to Jesse, and I want to say that, and I want to say that I'm surprised there aren't more offshoots of WordPress the way that, like Android, the Kindle Fire has their own version, and the Nook. I'm surprised there aren't more people using WordPress and creating something like a competitor WordPress.com with their own offshoot.
I completely agree with Anthony on what he said. I'm actually a WordPress plugin developer too, so I understand that fact. And I used to self-host on WordPress, and it was only when I decided I didn't want to worry about the hosting anymore, and I wanted to leave that to someone else, that I started looking into other options. And my two options were WordPress.com and Blogger.com. And I found between WordPress.com and Blogger.com, and allowing them to handle that stuff for me, Blogger gave me the most options for the least price and the most stability out of the two. And Blogger, as far as extendability, Blogger supports Open Social, which is an open source API. It's not the blogging platform itself isn't open source, but any open social extension or plugin you can pull into Blogger, and you can create your own as well. You're never going to get the extendability and flexibility of an open source platform. So if you do have the capability to self-host, WordPress.org and the the open source WordPress, as well as other open source platforms like Movable Type and others are going to be your best option.
Okay, what I'm going to do is let me throw it to Oleg, and then we're going to switch to another topic. Oleg, you wanted to weigh in on this?
Yeah, just quickly want to say from a personal experience, I had, my blog used to be on Blogger, still is actually, using the old setup they had, and putting in all these plugins and stuff. Yeah, they allow you to bring it in, but it becomes very awkward after a while. The code becomes hard to manage. Number two, number three, took forever to load the site, forever. I mean, it just became ridiculous. And so I wound up
compared to the PHP on WordPress.
I'm sorry.
Hard to manage as compared to the PHP on WordPress.
I was gonna say.
Absolutely no. PHP on WordPress, I can do anything I want if I know PHP. On this
XML versus PHP.
I'm sorry.
It's XML versus PHP.
Well, on this thing here, it was actually, you had to drop things in HTML. I mean, basically in the layout. Anyway, to make a long story short, like I said, it sucked royally until I got rid of all the plugins and redid it using the new, whatever the new templates they have. Now the thing is great. I love it. It's got this dynamic views thing. So it's not, I mean, no question, it's very nice. But if you look at the depth and breadth of plugins that they have for WordPress and capabilities it has, and the number of themes, I mean, that's one of the things that Blogger was missing, still missing compared to WordPress. I mean, you can find just about any visual thing you can possibly imagine on WordPress. Anything, I mean, a ton of them. The other day I got a phone call from one of my clients in Idaho, and she says the boss over there, he wanted to put a little, he doesn't like that these three pictures are together. He wants to put a little slideshow, but he wants to have thumbnails. That was the request. So she wants to have a slideshow, plus she wants to have thumbnails as a part of it. I do a simple search on WordPress plugins, instantly find one, drop it in, 2 lines of code, I'm done. And it works exactly like they want it. So you don't have that kind of stuff on Blogger. You just don't.
Go, Liza.
Until it breaks and then you have nowhere to go.
I agree with Alan again. This is the second time now, where he says it was meant for simple. If you want to start a simple blog, it makes it much easier than even messing around with themes and plugins and everything else.
Well, you're kind of dealing with similar on WordPress as well. I mean, WordPress plugins are PHP. You've got to know PHP to.
Of course.
Blogger is just XML. You don't even have no language to do it, although it is a XML-based language per se.
Well, it's an XML-based language, but it's a proprietary XML-based language.
Yeah, it is.
So it means you need to learn a whole new thing. You need to have a whole bunch of people who are doing it just for Blogger, as opposed to leveraging their experience from elsewhere. I mean, yeah, it's PHP, and it's PHP, but at least there are a lot of people that know it.
And it's poor PHP.
There is no such thing as non-poor PHP.
That's what I don't understand. Nobody likes PHP, so why? I don't understand why there's so much support of it.
Liza, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it just seems to me nobody likes PHP, so I don't understand why.
I like PHP.
There are a lot of people that like PHP. PHP is liked by a lot of people because it was the first language that did the sorts of things that it did in the way that it did. It predates ASP, it predates JSP. Unfortunately, the people that designed it way back then didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know how to design securely. They didn't know how to design a programming language. And PHP kind of evolved out of that. And it's still, it's to its credit, it's fortunately discarded a lot of that cruft from way back then, but it still carries a lot of it.
All right,
it's not really as bad as it used to be, but it's still pretty bad. And Dan is trying to get us to move on again.
I'm trying to get you to move on. 250 entry. This is a total Priz topic. I have no idea what the heck he's. 250 entry limit fixed on Stream, Scrollback, Takeout, and external apps.
Yeah, one of the things that people discovered way back in June was that if you keep pressing the more at the bottom of the screen, eventually it'll stop. And someone figured out, yeah, really. And eventually people figured out that it was going to stop after 250 entries for people who actually talked a lot. This led to a lot of people to suddenly panic that, stuff is being deleted after 250, and Google's just throwing it out.
The Twitter problem, like when they said it would only show X amount.
This got even worse when people started going to Takeout and realized that Takeout, which Google was saying is you can take your data, it's your data, you can take all of it with you whenever you want, wherever you want. People discovered that Takeout was only showing the past 250 items, and you couldn't download older than that. Then people discovered, as the API came online, that it could only access 250 items. So a
I
lot
see
of
a
people
pattern developing. So it's
Yeah.
fixed.
Well, this afternoon, the lead Google Plus engineer announced that the 250 limit has been fixed. All of your posts were there all along. They just needed to figure out how you could get access to them. So you now have access to all of your data. If you did a takeout before thinking you got everything and you didn't, you can now go to Takeout and get all of your old data, all of your old posts, all the way back into the beginning of July.
Thank God. I can sleep tonight.
And Google.
Okay. Thank Google.
I think it's more about transparency than it is about the actual amount of data.
They're still dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and as we always say, you know, it's still an open beta product, right? Even though it's not really, because everyone's using it. Okay. Oh yeah, and some game. Okay, we got GT Racing. Priz, is this your topic or Oleg? I know Oleg just lives on these games.
Yeah.
I wrote it in, but I don't know anything. The only thing I know about them
There's some
is
new
that
games.
they were making a big deal about 8-ball pool, saying that, oh wow, you can actually have more than one person playing this game at the same time. You know, like as if you were, you know, being social or something. Shocking that, you know, finally they came out with a social game that actually lets you be social. I still hate their games.
All right, what this
That's
game?
alright.
Alec Baldwin got in trouble, and then did that hysterical Saturday Night Live skit. That was awesome. Words with Friends. Is that a iOS thing or Facebook, or is that multi-platform?
It's multi-platform.
Is
It's
it
a
on
Zynga
Android?
game.
It's a Zynga game.
Words with Friends is that's on Android as well?
Yes.
See, I'm reluctant to get into these. I don't buy lottery tickets or do anything that could potentially cause me to waste more time than I already waste. But I'm thinking about doing that. Not because Alec Baldwin did it, just because I heard about it anyway, and I heard it's addicting, and so that's why I've been reluctant. But I may do that. I may and with some of you guys, I would hate to have to
Just turn off your
disarm.
phone when you get on the plane.
I would hate to have to disarm Oleg in Words with Friends and then publicly humiliate him in the show,
That's
showing
right.
my score. No, I'm just kidding. Oleg would probably beat me. All right, toll-free number.
I'm
Okay,
still waiting for chess.
you're
I don't
waiting.
understand why it's taking them that long to figure out that when you're doing games with multiple people, chess would be one of the first games you should implement.
It took them this long to figure out they should do games with multiple people. 8-ball pool is the first one that more than one person
And,
can
you
play
know,
at a
Brent
time.
should be ashamed of himself, considering where he came from, that the guy doesn't have chess on this thing.
But Oleg, it's not. I mean, you're just trying to push that because you would have a cultural advantage. I mean, chess.
I've been to a couple of hangouts where we've played board games, and I think that's a place where they could incorporate some games.
It's coming. It's coming.
They
I
should
keep
do
telling you,
Monopoly
it's
or
coming.
I've heard
basic
it's coming,
mainstream
but it
games.
seems like I keep hearing that.
No, but this should have nothing to do with Hangouts. I mean, if you're talking about games, they said there was a separate piece, have games where people can play together. That's all.
No,
Okay,
they
you
should.
say it should have nothing to do with hangouts. I disagree.
Oh,
with
I
that.
disagree
absolutely.
completely.
No, I
Only
totally.
because
Yeah.
I've seen many hangouts, and so there was a hangout where a guy's trying to build something, and you're watching him on his workbench. Pretty cool, right?
That part is cool, but when you're playing chess, Liz,
I'm trying to finish.
okay.
I've also been in hangouts where we've played Scrabble, and somebody puts the camera on the board. So there's a lot of different things you can do if you get creative, but it's kind of a hack that they could make a little bit more.
Yeah. In
Oh,
fact,
yeah.
there is.
Alan,
there is- oh, go ahead.
Let her
Oleg.
finish. Let her finish. Let her finish.
I finished.
Oh,
Okay.
Go ahead, Alan. Go ahead.
Okay, well, two things. The first is you can play chess in Hangouts today. There is a Google Doc document that has a chessboard that you can do a Hangout with extra with. Second, one of the big things about Hangouts is you have this ability to see the other person. You know, I'm sure you are a much better chess player than I am. I have absolutely no doubt of that.
We don't know.
But there is there's a big difference if you're playing chess with a person on the other side of the chessboard versus playing chess by mail.
Not
the
to me.
difference-
It's
No.
not poker. It's
I
not
said-
poker. It's not like it makes a difference when when you're playing poker. You can bluff in chess. You don't bluff in chess.
There are a lot of people who do, though. There are a lot of people who said that one of the biggest, problems with
People
playing
bluff
against
in
Bobby
Scrabble.
Fischer, they said playing against Bobby Fischer, one of the biggest problems was just the way he would stare you down when playing chess.
No,
It
but we're
is
talking
a
about a totally
psychological
different
game.
level than most folks here. That's a totally different level.
All right. So Yeah. All right. I think
Dan's trying to move on again.
I'm going to try to move on, but I will say, in my opinion, absolutely they should incorporate games into Hangouts because it's a whole different thing. Instead of having, if it's part of it as an option, not for everybody, not everyone's interested in that.
Here's what I
but
said.
It would draw more people in. It makes it a more useful
here's the thing
product. They're
about
going to hover
Hangouts.
on Google Plus all day. I mean, look how many times you're bombarded with all this garbage on Facebook from Farmville and Water My Plants and all this crap that we could care less about. But it draws people in, and it's a revenue source that keeps Facebook free. They make a ton of money from that, and they can do their thing. And now they've kind of got Facebook to where you're not getting game notifications. I'm not getting invitations to help someone conquer this world or water their plants or whatever it is, and I don't get that many on Google Plus. So I think it's a good thing. I mean, it's a niche thing that will draw more people in and generate some revenue for Google so that they keep this thing going, keep innovating, and it's not going to be intrusive on us. So I see it as a complete win. I don't see anything. What do you think, Jesse?
I don't know. I'm not a huge game player myself. I see games as networking opportunities. That's my view of games. But
Well, no, that's it exactly. Games, real games, not the garbage that you see over at Facebook, and in fact, not even the garbage that you see over in Google Plus Games. Real games are social inventions.
Yep.
They are ways that we interact with other people. They're ways that we have fun with other people. They're ways that we network with other people. That's what a real game is.
Exactly.
I agree.
And Hangouts are the perfect forum for that.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I agree. And I think that there's something to be said about having games in a section that is separate from the rest of the site. I think there's a reason that games are so popular on Facebook, and part of it is because they're integrated with the site, but there's also a reason that people like games on Google Plus because they're separate from the rest of the site.
People like games on Google Plus?
Some people do.
No,
It
that's
would
a
be
serious
neat.
question. I really don't know many people who do.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've run into one person who likes the games on Google Plus.
I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now I've run into two people.
Okay, again,
And
Did
he's
you
only
try-
on Google Plus for the games.
Did you try the
He didn't even
new
know about
racing
the rest of the
game?
features.
let's
Did you
let
try the
in
new-
Sarik. How do you pronounce it?
Freak.
Shriek.
Yeah.
You're a fan. What games do you like? Which game or games do you play?
I mean, poker.
And do you it's interactive with other users, right?
Well, you can't play poker alone, right? Anyway,
Right.
so what I'm saying is more than that. Today they released a new game. I think it's a racing game. Puneet Soni announced it today, and I loved it. I actually played it at work. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys have actually played Road Rash. Have you?
No.
Okay. Well, it's something you have to install. I could actually feel that Chrome is so powerful in terms of actually being able to, run a racing game within the Chrome browser. And I mean, it's a very generic statement to say that people don't really like games. How do you know?
I mean,
what I
again,
said
it's
was-
like I said earlier, you're a victim of who you circle, right? If you just circle tech geeks, then you're going to say Google Plus is all about tech geeks. But I'm sure people are playing them. I don't know what the stats are, but I think it would be neat if we decided. And I'll throw it to Jesse in a sec. But if we wanted to play a poker game, if we could have a Hangout thing, and it was actually all of us sitting around, off the record, having fun in our Bermuda shorts. And Oleg and Alan and Liza and Jesse and whomever else, we're all sitting there in a
Oleg won't come
hangout.
because he says the games aren't social.
That's right, they suck. But here's the scenario. Here's what I figured out how the antlers will be good.
What did Liza say? I didn't hear it.
Before you leave.
I said he won't come because he says games aren't social.
No,
But
I
they
said the
could be.
current
They're
crop
fun.
of Google Plus games aren't social.
It'd
No,
be
I
fun.
didn't say you. I said Oleg.
No.
Oleg could have some,
Okay, one second.
absolute
Here's
or
the
something
scenario.
going
This
on
is
over there,
perfect.
and some
I
cards.
figured out what to do with antlers.
I just have to add this. I agree with Alan.
Go ahead.
I agree with Alan that Hangout is the best place to actually have social games. But I disagree with him that a game is just played between a bunch of people. No, a lot of times people like to play games on their own. If you
Right.
have a cell phone, let's say iPhone. I have a bunch of games on my iPhone. Okay, you can bash Mac, but I love the tool. So what I'm saying is, it's not always about playing with others.
So you're the one.
It's the competition. I mean, what drew me into games, which I don't play very often, but was going in and seeing, oh, I'm almost about to beat Sergey Brin, or I'm about to beat so and so, and that can be a great opportunity. I use that a couple times to reach out to someone and say, hey, I'm about to, I just took out your score, and then that pushes them back into the game to go and try and beat my score. And you kind of have to do the social elements on your own in many ways, but it does give you a level of competition that is social.
No, come on, Jesse, be honest. You just like to slaughter pigs. That's all.
That too.
No, but here's a scenario with chess.
I'm from
Here we go.
Texas.
This is
We like
this is the
pigs down
comical
there.
moment of the show. Are you guys ready?
All
So
right.
chess, you usually play with 2 people, but you get 10 people in the Hangout. So here's the perfect application for the antlers, or the graphics.
Okay.
Make it so it's a rock that somebody can actually throw on the screen to hit somebody, knock him out of the Hangout. So what you have is you have a chess game going, and you got one person moving, but you got all these other people punching in. Move the knight, move the knight. And then Dan comes in, he picks up a rock, and he throws it at Alan for yelling this, and Alan gets kicked out of the Hangout. Now that's a chess game that you won't find anywhere else.
That may even try my smooth moderating skills. Okay. Tollfreenumber.org stops using Google Plus after a drop in search rankings. This is interesting. I just want to mention this. They actually, this was a, because I get PR Newswire stuff, right? And a bunch of other press releases. But this was actually a press release. It wasn't a story. There's a site called tollfreenumber.org. Maybe they did this to get publicity, but they said that they put their Circle Us on Plus code in their website, and they said that their search, that their traffic died on Google. And then they got rid of that and stopped using Google Plus, and their traffic went back up. They said they used to be in the top 10, then they virtually disappeared. And they actually, not only did they just fix the problem, allegedly, what they're saying, but they also did a press release announcing it. So I don't know how legit it is or what, but it's interesting to look in there. I can't imagine how.
I can.
Explain it, Alan. Is this
Okay,
legit?
it could be legit, but basically it boils down to the people at tollfreenumber.org are a pack of idiots that don't know what they're doing. Just to put it bluntly here. Basically what they said is, oh, hey, we can create a page, and if we get a page, that's going to drive up our search rankings. Well, they keep forgetting that they can't read Google's mind, and search engine optimization is basically a race in between people who are trying to artificially inflate their search results and Google, who is trying to accurately reflect popularity and importance.
But how do you explain it going down?
I can explain it going down by the fact that they created a page and then didn't link that page correctly back to the site and didn't link the site correctly to the page. So what Google could very well have done in this case is say, hey, wait a minute, we got a page by this name, we got a website by this name. They don't look like they're actually connected to each other. They're probably not legitimate. Google has made very clear how to tell their search engine optimizer when you're legitimate and when you're not. And if you don't follow those instructions, they very well could knock you down in the rankings.
Mm-hmm.
The integration's cool on some of this stuff, though. It can help. Like if you, like whenever a lot of my stories, when I write a news story and it gets on Google News, it'll have even old stories that are there from before I think Google Plus even existed. It'll show all of a sudden now, like Warren County Report newspaper, it'll show my picture and it'll say Dan McDermott and X number of people have circled him right on the Google News thing. It's
that's right.
Wow.
And
It's
Google,
really integrated.
Google announced and made it very clear that in the news results they were going to be doing that, and they announced how they were going to be doing that, and they announced it because they were expecting that to drive people to Google Plus. The problem is they could tell that you were legitimate. They had trouble telling in this case whether tollfreenumber.org was legitimate or not. And it really doesn't surprise me that if you don't follow the instructions that Google made very, very clear, if you don't follow those instructions, they could very well penalize you. And it sounds like that's what happened in this case. Now, the press release was very vague on a whole lot of points. So it really sounds to me like, they said they discovered that it was because of this drop. Well, how did they discover it? What correlation did they find? They don't
Don't
tell
you
in the
find it
press release.
suspicious or odd that they would issue a press release about that rather than simply fix it?
Well,
Why would you pick a
no,
war with
because
Google?
as you pointed out, they wanted to get the new. They wanted to get the boost in their rankings. And it wouldn't surprise me if by issuing a press release, it now shows up in the Google News section again, and thus increases their search engine optimization again.
And fixes the lull that they've had for 2 weeks. All right. So good for them. Good scam. It works. Allegedly. I don't want to get sued by some. It'd be embarrassing to get sued by someone called tollfreenumber.org. All right. So let's go. What's wrong with multiple? Someone's got this. What's wrong with Google multi-logins? Hasn't worked for me for weeks. Not sure I understand the.
I know it's that in our show notes. I don't know what problem they were having. I do
is
know
there someone here who's watching? Or is it? What is it? What's the
I don't
deal?
know. It was posted in our show notes. I use Google multi-login all the time. I haven't had a problem with it.
Yeah, I use it too, and it seemed like it works fine. I haven't
Yeah.
had problems.
I would recommend that if somebody did have this problem, that they post it to the comments in the show publicly, and we can discuss it there, or make a post about it. And I'm sure people from Google will look for it.
All right, last two topics, so we got to roll. Jesse's got to roll, and is it Zynga? How do you pronounce it? Zynga. IPO, shares drop 5%. China and Google agree, real names or else. You want to do a real quick, give me 30 seconds on this, Priz, and then let's see what Jesse
30 seconds
thinks
on
about it, and then
Zynga.
we roll.
Basically, Zynga are the guys behind, every
Farmville,
annoying game that you've ever
etc.
Yeah. Basically, they're now the biggest IPO since Google's IPO. It was a $1 billion IPO. They came out at $10 a share. At close of business today, their shares were down to $9.50 a share. So a lot of people are saying, maybe these guys don't really know what they're doing.
I heard the funniest thing today about that. One guy said, "I'm not sure what's more valuable, a virtual cow or the price of Zynga stock."
That's good for them. I mean, but they're really tied in. I mean, what is 85% of their gross revenue is through Facebook.
Yeah.
So
and their
Zuckerberg
latest
can just order them, strip down and walk in front of my building, whatever he wants. I mean, because they're done. But then a large percentage of Facebook's revenue also comes from the game. So they're kind of
right. I mean, Zynga also, Facebook. At one point last year, Facebook had said, "Hey, we're changing the terms for you guys," and Zynga said, "No, you're not changing the terms for us," and Zynga won. But I think
it's
Zynga's had a lot.
Relationship.
Zynga's had a lot of problems recently. Their Mafia Wars 2 game had some serious bugs. It had some serious complaints from its users. They're not the gold child anymore.
All right, last thing.
Yeah, the guy that runs the show over there doesn't sound like a very nice guy.
At Zynga?
Yeah.
Wow, you think a game developer would be fun-loving and...
Mark Pincus?
No, just some things I read. He doesn't sound like he's no Steve Jobs. Or maybe a little bit like Steve Jobs, just the bad parts.
Maybe that's why he and Zuckerberg get along. All right, I'm just kidding, of course. Allegedly. China and Google Plus agree, real names or else. Last topic, and then we're out of here. Priz and
what about
Jesse and
WMDs in Libya?
What is it?
WMDs in Libya? We're not doing that?
I don't know, man. I've seen all those videos where it's crazy. The guy with the stick, the whole deal. I don't want to get into all that. Alan.
So China
quick.
and real names. Basically, Beijing authorities announced that any company that's based in China now has to force its users to use real names. Basically, China is worried about uprisings of the same sort that you've seen sparked by Twitter. So they've told their Twitter-like service, Weibo, that they need to force all of their users to use real names.
The advantage China has is when you talk about they're worried about whatever. The advantage China has is so big, 1.3 billion people, that they can, like in Tiananmen Square, what they do, their country's so vast, they can go out here and get these guys in the sticks and bring them in to slaughter the people in this area who are protesting. That's exactly what they did in Tiananmen Square. But I can't imagine, and Oleg could probably speak to this, but when the Soviet Union ended, I remember hearing someone on, I think it was Nightline, they said there are lots and lots of powder kegs that are being repressed by the Soviet Union. And when the Soviet Union falls, you're going to see a whole lot of people warring against each other, like Georgia versus,
Right.
et cetera.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's exactly what happened. I'm not advocating, a communist dictatorship at all. I'm just saying that you have to understand that if you do get rid of the one tyrant, then you're going to have other issues that the tyrant quelled. And I think that, I don't know. I mean, I don't see China falling anytime soon. But if it did, I mean, you'd have all hell breaking loose over there. I mean, remember, this is the land of Genghis Khan.
We didn't see the Soviet Union falling anytime soon either, did we?
No, we did not.
I don't
Just
know.
the name.
Reagan said, he was going to get him. All right.
He did.
He did.
No, Soviet Union is gone, but
He
unfortunately, the people who used to run there are still running the show. Quick question that's actually on topic of Google. Has anybody had any problems playing videos in Google Plus Stream? Where it starts playing and then just quits on its own? Or is it just me?
Check your connection.
Do you have a Mac?
No, I don't. That's why I'm asking the question. Because
I've got a Mac and it's
It must
working
be that
fine for
Chromebook
me.
of
So.
yours.
Same here. I have a Mac too. It's perfect.
It works great on my
No,
Mac.
it was just something yesterday. It wasn't happening before. I was wondering if they were making changes because of the changes they made. But I noticed that definitely YouTube videos would start playing and then would just quit on its own very quickly. And it played fine when you go to YouTube, but not in Google Plus.
Oleg, you
No.
should purchase an Apple product, like an iPad or something, maybe.
I don't think so. I'm going to be purchasing the new Prime. That's what I'm going to be purchasing.
Jesse Stay is author of Google Plus for Dummies and also author
right here.
of, hold it up, there you go, Google Plus for Dummies. And it's available in bookstores everywhere, I guess. And it's available
should
on
be most local bookstores. If it's
Yeah.
got a bunch of books, it'll have it probably.
Go to the bookstore, and it's inexpensive enough to where you don't have to just go to the bookstore and use it as a showroom and then order from Amazon. You can actually buy in the bookstore. It's like $7 or $8. And the Kindle version is available. And you don't have to have a physical Kindle, right? You can download a free Kindle app for your phone or for your computer, and you can read it online right now. You can buy it, and in 1 minute you're reading it. So
It's also on the Nook. It's
the Nook, okay.
It's in all the digital formats on dummies.com too.
Okay, awesome.
When is the next edition due? At the rate which Google is announcing new features, is it going to be pretty soon? I mean,
It'll probably be several months before you see Wiley release a new one.
Okay.
Just based on their publishing schedule that they've talked to me about.
And also understand, this is a book. It's a real primer. It's an intro. And so, yeah, there are other features, as we discussed earlier. And Jesse made a point of saying this is it'll still be, it's still a good book, and it's the starter point for newbies.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get your aunt to join, your grandma to join, your cousin or whatever, who's not really a technical person, or is and just wants to really get down to the basics, to answer all the questions. Like I lay out newspapers, and I started out, but I still bought InDesign for Dummies because I was like, I may have missed something, and just sort of as a fun read to see if I've missed something. So they're kind of the thorough. They assume nothing, and they kind of build from scratch, and I think they're great. And I'm so honored and flattered that you joined us tonight, Jesse Stay. And I apologize for this show going on so long, but it's
all right.
It was great content. We really appreciate you taking the time. And normally it's like an hour, so normally it's not as painful as this. But
It's my
Jesse,
pleasure. The discussion was good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jesse.
It's fun. It's always like this. It's a hoot. But anyway, Jesse Stay, Google Plus for Dummies, the books in Amazon and all the bookstores and Barnes & Noble and et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, I appreciate everyone, and looking forward to next week's show. And thanks for all the folks who participated. So I want to wish all of you folks a wonderful weekend. And as we get ready for Christmas, I think I'm back next week anyway. But every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Right now it's 1 a.m. GMT, but that fluctuates between midnight or 1 a.m. depending on what we do with our time schedule here. But I want to thank everyone for watching here and on Justin.tv and on YouTube. Thank you so much. I'm Dan McDermott. I'll see you next week for another episode of Google Plus Week.